My cousin staged a robbery at my house, I know, because he left his Fitbit, which recorded the entire thing, including when he rifled through my underwear drawer, found my safe, and muttered, "He's gonna wish he never got that promotion, hey." They were working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true emotional stories, hit that's absurd. Right, but it helps more than you know now. Let's get into the story. You ever look back on a moment and realize the exact second your bloodline failed you? For me, it was a Tuesday gray sky dryer and a sticky note on my fridge that just said thanks. I stood there in my ransacked kitchen staring at a piece of yellow paper left behind by someone who knew me well enough to scribble it in my handwriting. They even tilted the H like I do it. Was mocking my name's Ryan. I'm 29, single, no kids. I work in cybersecurity, more specifically internal penetration testing for a major healthcare for that's the fancy way of saying I get paid to legally break into our systems to expose vulnerabilities. I'm not flashy, I don't want what I do. But I just got a major promotion after uncovering a network breach that would have cost the company 7 figures. So yeah, it was a big deal the day I signed the promotion papers. I called my cousin Eric. He and I were close growing up, shared a PlayStation, snuck out of grandma's house together, built a tree fort that collapsed on both of us when we were 12. He was the wild cousin you got an extra sig type. We drifted after college. He bounced from job to job, mostly construction or warehouse gigs. But I figured whatever family's family. When I called to share the good news, he sounded genuinely happy. "Damn bro, you finally made it, proud of you," he said. "Then came me ask, you think I'd a crash at your place a couple nights?" He asked. My lease is up and I'm kind of between things now. Listen, I just closed on a small house outside the city. Nothing flashy, 3 bedrooms, smart home setup, good entry. It was my first place, but I said yes because in my mind I was still that kid who built tree fort with him, still believed he'd do the same from me. He showed up the next night with 2 duffel bags, a Bluetooth speaker, and no job. I chalked it up to bad timing. But it didn't take long for the weirdness to start. He kept asking questions that didn't sound like small talk. "Yeah, that lock on your back door, is it motion or magnet based? You still keep that coin collection from high school? This Nest camera got night vision or..." Now I laughed it off, brushed aside. But then I noticed he always kept his phone in airplane mode, said it's save battery. I also caught him trying to peek into the hall closet where I kept the bolted safe one night while I was half asleep on the couch. I heard him talking to someone on speakerphone. I couldn't make out the whole conversation, but one line stood out like a cracked window in winter. "I told you he's not even gonna see it coming due to too busy being the hero." The next morning, he said he was heading out for a date with someone he met at the gas station. Never heard from him that whole night, didn't return until the following afternoon, smelling like motor oil and beer. Then I left for a weekend cybersecurity conference in Denver. I told Erica a week prior. My flight left Friday at 5 a.m. I came back Sunday night, just before midnight. The second I opened my front door, I knew something was off. The lights were on, the kitchen window was cracked open, there was glass on the floor, my TV was gone, my safe had been pulled from the wall and split open with what looked like a crowbar, drawers had been emptied, my underwear was scattered on the bed like someone had been digging for something small, and taped to the fridge was the sticky note. I stood there in total silence for maybe 10 minutes, just soaking in the violation. And then I noticed something on the floor near the door, wedged under the sideboard of Fitbit. Still on, still sinking. I picked it up like the dust off the screen, pressed the side button. Eric. It was his. He never once mentioned owning a Fitbit. But it was his account tied to his Gmail, still syncing to his backup cloud. And if you've never worked in cybersecurity, you might not realize this, but most people don't know how to turn off everything that's being tracked. The heart rate spikes, the GPS trail, the mic access for voice recognition, and in this case the audio logs. He didn't just rob me, he recorded himself doing it. I listened to the first few seconds. Right there in the wreckage of my kitchen. "He's gonna wish he never got that promotion," that's what he muttered right before opening my safe. That's when I stopped being family and started planning everything. That night, I sat on the floor, Fitbit in one hand, my passport shredder it on the counter, and the contents of my safe, cash, birth certificate, backup hard drive gone. And still it wasn't panic. I felt it was focus. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to blow up his phone. I wasn't even going to text him, because if Eric was arrogant enough to stage a robbery and leave a live tracking device behind, then he wasn't just sloppy. He was confident that I wouldn't fight back. And I don't know if that's what pissed me off the most, the theft, the betrayal, where the fact that he thought I'd just take it the Fitbit was my smoking gun. But I needed more, so the first thing I did, I powered it off, didn't think it again, didn't upload anything. If this ever went to court, I want a chain of custody airtight. Then I pulled the serial and saved the current sync logs to an encrypted external drive. Time stamps, GPS pings, audio triggers. His heart rate spiked exactly 3 minutes after I left for the airport. He was already inside when my plane was still taxiing off the runway. That meant he didn't just rob me, he planned it to the minute. The next morning, I went into full recon mode. I restored the backup of my smart home system. I had disabled a few cameras during Reno, but my entry logs still intact. Saturday, 12:43 a.m. Backdoor lock disabled, manually, no code entered, just brute force override. He knew how to trip the breaker and kill loss without pinging the alarm, which meant that whole year, how do these since or work conversation he had with me earlier that week that was prep work, that was casing the house like a pro, except dumber, because what he didn't know was that the garage camera had a self-contained battery in a local S backup, and it caught him plain as day. But he backpack slump, his face visible for all of 2 seconds as he pulled off his mask to scratch his B. Weird. I clipped the footage, labeled it exhibit. I didn't go to the cops because cops make confrontation trial lawyers. And maybe I wanted something else first. I wanted him to feel like he got away with it. So I did the stupidest thing and normal person would never do. I texted him, "Hey man, I'm back, please, got hit you good." He called immediately with the fake is concerned. I've ever heard his voice was tight, trembling. But not in a scared way, in a testing way. "Bro, what, are you serious? Your place?" When I told him the whole thing, he played dumb, said he come over right away, and he did. He showed up in fresh sneakers, brought a 6-pack, even acted like he was checking windows for weak points. I almost laughed when he inspected the very window he had smashed, probably some random crack it. "Man," he said, "you know how it is out here, suburbs ain't safe like they used to be." Oh, the irony. I let him ramble, then casually I dropped a little bit. "Yeah, weirdest thing though, whoever it was the left of Fitbit." He froze, just a flicker, a half second of wide eyes. Then he shrugged. Maybe one of the movers left it, or something nice. Try dipped asterisk. I hadn't moved anything since closing. So now that I had him on the hook, I reel them in. Your mind helping me install new security since you know you're already here. That's how I got him to unknowingly help me set up the next phase together. We upgraded my system. I added 3 dummy cameras with blinking lights to distract him while hiding for micro cameras around the living room, office, and back hallway, one inside a smoke detector, another inside a light switch plate. I also set up a new smart lock with one major difference. Every time it's huge, manually instead of via code, I get an instant alert with audio recording from the door mic. And I replaced the thermostat with a model that has passive motion tracking just for fun. Eric slept in the guest room again that night like nothing had happened, like he hadn't robbed me blind just days before. But I was already 3 steps ahead. The next morning he left early, claimed he had a job interview. But I tracked the Fitbit last sync before I shut it off 2 days ago. It showed him driving into a neighborhood where another house had been hit, same amount, no forced entry, electronics taken, safe cracked. The address it belonged to, guy named Jarrett. And here's the kicker. I knew Garrett from high school, which meant this wasn't a one-time hit. Iraq was working with someone that same day. I pulled my laptop and ran a quiet scrape of Eric's Google account. Most people don't realize how much metadata syncs between apps when permissions are lazy, but Eric's security was laughable, buried in the cloud cache. Were to deleted photos, one of them my passport laid out next to a pile of loose credit cards. The other a selfie of Eric with a guy I hadn't seen in years, Jay Harris, and suddenly it all snapped in a place. Jay had been arrested for burglary back in 2017. I remembered it because it was the talk of our old school Facebook group. Jay and Eric used to hang out, skip class together. Jay was the kind of guy who sold bootleg phones out of his backpack and had a whole hustle in 10th grade. So now I had a theory Eric wasn't acting alone. He was staging hits with Jay, targeting people they used to know, using insider info, getting just enough to keep it quiet. But me, I was different because I had the loss. I had the footage, I had the Fitbit. And I wasn't about to let this in quietly. There's something terrifyingly, is fine about watching a predator walk straight into a trap. He said, especially when they think they're the one holding a leash. After confirming the J connection, I dug deeper, uphold every old device Eric had connected to while staying in my house, even ones that included my spare guest room echoed, the upstairs Roku TV, and a guest Wi-Fi network. And wouldn't you know it, did use my Wi-Fi to log into his Gmail from my living room, so I do what I do best, crack the back. And I'm not proud of it, but I used a few grey-hair methods to access Eric's deleted emails cache. Metadata and auto-SD cloud injuries. The man didn't just leave digital breadcrumbs, he beat the whole damn cake and left it cooling on the windowsill. In one deleted thread titled J Stuff, he spelled it out. He's gone Friday through Sunday, got the layout safes and hallway closet, got about 10k cash, electronics, IDs. Maybe a few cards, will split 60/40th. He owes me this anyway, owes me this. It wasn't even about money, it was personal. He thought I owed him back. As I made it out, and he didn't, another message had a photo attachment, zoomed in screenshots of my old bank statements, which told me he had either broken into my email at some point where he was planning identity theft. I didn't panic. I didn't change my passwords right a way that would have tipped him off. Instead, I created a virtual honeypot, a fake financial dashboard with Omni balances, a decoy crypto wallet, and false pinning wire transfers. I set it up so that if you logged in or forwarded anything, I get a silent paying within 48 hours. He fell for it. He tried logging in from his iPhone, and not just that. He attempted a password reset using my recovery email. I let it go through, then forwarded everything to my lawyer. Her name is Dana. She's handled cybersecurity breach cases, digital privacy violations, in a few messy identity theft battles. When I showed her the logs, the Fitbit audio, the GPS trail, and the camera footage, she whistled. You're not just building a case. She said, you're building a slam dunk. Still, I told her to hold. I wasn't ready to hit nuclear just yet because I had one more move. I invited Eric back for help, said I was thinking of investing in a home gym and needed help moving some equipment, and he said sure, probably thinking there was more to grab. He showed up that afternoon, same cocky smack, same oversized hoodie, probably hiding tools like last time. But this time he didn't realize he was going into a fully wired surveillance hop. Every room he entered, cameras were rolling. Every question I asked scripted to extract confession or contradiction. They, did you ever see that Fitbit again? That thing vanished after the break. And he blinked. Fitbit? Nah man, probably belonged to the guy who broke in. You sure? I said, because I tracked to my garage right before the power went out. Silence. He fumbled for a second, then mumbled something about a power surge. But the camera caught the flicker of fear behind his eyes. Later that night, I got a new alert. My bank flagged a suspicious attempt to open line of credit in my name, $30,000, flagged as urgent medical need. The application used my real social birthday and employment info, but listed a different mailing address. Guess whose apartment it traced back to? That's right, Eric's. That was the last straw. I called Dana. I sent her everything, the smart lock data, the financial bait walks, the audio files with timestamp threats, even the screenshot of him. So, seeing my passport photo to Jay with the caption, we could do some damage with this. We agreed on a plan, no police. Yet not until it was public, so I did the unthinkable. I invited Eric and Jay to dinner. I told them I was thinking about investing in the hustle. Play dumb, said I was working on a side project that needed people who could move gear discreetly. Jay was hazard. Eric sold it hard, and as they sat in my dining room joking about low risk, high reward, the house lit up, every camera, every mic, every day to capture system activated. It was the digital equivalent of closing a steel trap. Eric leaned back in his chair talking about how everyone's a mark if you're smart enough. Jay said most of the time they don't even realize they've been hit until you're in another state. I asked, you mean like my house? That's when Eric looked up. I stood, picked up the Fitbit, and tossed it onto the table between us. You left this behind? It recorded everything. Jay laughed nervously. Man, you messing with us? I shook my head. Know what, the cops? Well, then I hit the button, one press, every file, every lot, every photo sync, and sent automatically to my lawyer. The local police and a private security investigator hired the moment I saw my first bank alert. Eric stood up fast, knocking over his chair. Jay cursed, but it was too late. I smiled and said, you know what they say, heart rate never lies. You know that expression, the walls are closing in. That was Eric sitting in my dining room trying to figure out if this was a prank or setup. Jay stood frozen like a cornered record. His hand hovered near his jacket, but I already had that covered. House security was on lockdown, door sealed, no sig or in or out. I had installed a ferriter mesh and the walls last year, mostly for fun. Tonight It was war paint. I didn't yell, didn't explain, just watched them squirm as the Fitbit blinked on the table between us, mocking them with every flashing light era try to play it off. You tripping man, you think I'd steal from you? I just stared at him and said that heart rate monitor says otherwise. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. 2 uniformed officers, 1 detective, 1 digital forensics specialist. I stepped aside and let them in. Both. It got as far as the backyard before my motion triggered gate snapshot. The detective tossed him in the dark. Eric didn't run. He sat there breathing fast, darting, looking at me like I just killed his childhood dog. He didn't say a word as they cuffed him, didn't say a word as they read him his rights. But when they pulled his phone out of his hoodie, unlocked, and still mid-text to Jay that read where air for ad, I caught the flicker. Regret, or maybe I didn't care. What mattered was that it was all on record. The camera in the dining room got the entire setup. The Fitbit data was officially entered into evidence, and within 48 hours detectives have matched the timestamps on Jay's phone with 3 other burglaries in the area, including one where the homeowner had been home and sedated with sleeping pills hidden in his drink. That's when I realized that could have been worse. Didn't just rob people, they targeted people they knew, former classmates, family, friends, people who wouldn't suspect them, who would let them in the house. I was almost one of them. But I didn't get a call from Eric, I got a call from my mother. And that's when the stopped being fun. What did you do to Eric? She asked. No. Are you okay? No. I heard what happened. Just instant defense. Apparently air could spawn a whole tale from the holding cell. Said I framed him with planted evidence because I was jealous. He had a business opportunity coming up, and I wanted to ruin it. A few of my aunts bought it. So did one cousin. But then the cops made the Fitbit audio public in the case file because it proved motive. And guess what? He muttered my name, my full name, Ryan F. Miller. Thinks he's better than me, thinks he's too good to help family, is gonna wish he never got that promotion. You know what kind of person says that during a robbery? A person who didn't just want your stuff, they wanted your life. When the rest of the family heard that the group chats lit up like a Christmas tree, one of my cousins, James, DM'd me privately. I knew something was off with him. He stole from me back in 2080 gram. I'll covered for him. So this was a new Eric had been slowly burning bridges for years. I just happened to be the one who turned mine into a tripwire. But the worst part was my dad. He called me that Friday, said he didn't like the way I handled things. You didn't have to get the cops involved. He said he's family. He staged a robbery. My house, he tried to sell my identity online, ransacked my safe, stole my passport, tried to open credit lines in my name, and nearly framed me for a multi-state burglary ring. And the only thing my father had to say was that I went too far. That's when I stopped returning family calls, let them sit with it, let them stew, and the silence, because Iraq wasn't getting out on bail. The charges now included burglary, identity theft, credit fraud, conspiracy, and intent to commit financial crimes across state lines. Jay, he flipped almost immediately, took a plea deal, turned over screenshots, text threads, even voice messages from Eric. One of them had this gem: he's just a keyboard guy, thinks he's smart, cause he makes money doing nerders, asterisk asterisk. I'll show him real hustle. They thought I was soft, they forgot I built systems designed to catch people exactly like them. And the beauty of it all, I didn't lift a single finger to hit back, I just listened. And when they handed me the knife, I let them cut their own throat with it. By the time the dust settled, Eric had been behind bars for 2 weeks. Jay had already flipped. His lawyer negotiated a deal in exchange for full cooperation. I didn't expect much from it, maybe a few more texts, maybe some tools recovered. But what Jay handed over that changed everything. It started with a voice note. We should have hit rind. First, he's got the gear, the paper trail, the ego. And if it hits the fan, no one's gonna believe he didn't screw us. Jay's voice was calm, Eric's voice was louder, nastier. I know where he keeps everything. You think he's smart. He's not. He just got lucky. Everything, he's got it. Should have been my. He only made it because I helped him get